We are back. We are back again with another episode, and I hope you're all doing well and that you have had an amazing week so far. And also that the weekend has started off in the best way possible for you. And also, of course, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Whether you're spending today with yourself or with loved ones, I hope that you truly enjoy it, however you choose to celebrate. I'm excited for this episode today because we are going to talk about energy and the energy body and why frequency is far more important than most people realize. We as practitioners understand the value of listening to frequency, but have you ever gone deeper than that? Have you ever really looked into what frequency does to your atoms, your vibration, and how everything is structured? That's what we're going to explore today, so buckle up and let's get ready. Welcome to the Sixth Sense. You see, all around us there are many different flows of energy, and you connect with different ones depending on what frequency you're vibrating at. If you're new to this, here's an easier way to understand it. Frequency is the speed your energy is vibrating at. The frequency is also emotions. So depending on how you feel, it affects your entire energy, and it affects your body too. And this isn't just something that affects your mind or your thoughts, it affects your entire being. If you're struggling to let go of an emotion in your body or in your mind, if it keeps looping, it's because that frequency is trying to teach you something. But when we live in normality, we might just see it as a headache or feeling unwell. Yet it goes much deeper than that, especially when you begin to learn how to manipulate energy and move it. Because that's how you learn from it, that's how you alchemize it into a higher frequency. And that is one of the purposes of a lower frequency too. The purpose is never to make you feel unwell or never to keep you stuck in any way. The purpose is always to elevate you and to help you flip it so you can eventually feel the opposite. But that can be difficult to understand when we're just trying to get through our daily life. And I also need to add this, if you're energy sensitive, you might pick up on other people's energies too. That can also make you feel unwell or like something isn't right. So always ask yourself the purpose of how you're feeling and where is it coming from? Is it yours or someone else's? Because without really realizing it, all of us speak the language energy. It's the first language you learn in this life, and for many, it's also the first one you forget. Silly, isn't it? I want you to visualize this with me. I want you to see your entire body in front of you, almost like you're looking at yourself from the outside, and I want you to make it transparent. Now, inside this transparent body, I want you to visualize 7 glowing orbs. 1 at the base of your spine, 1 just underneath your belly button, 1 in your solar plexus, 1 in your heart, 1 in your throat, 1 on your forehead, and 1 at the very top of your scalp. These 7 orbs are the 7 main centers in your energy body: the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown chakra. And these centers vibrate at 7 different frequencies to maintain balance. Now, I want you to add atoms to this visualize too. I want you to imagine that around each chakra, there is a field of tiny atoms like a cloud surrounding each orb. And I want you to see those atoms almost like the color test patterns we use to check if someone's colorblind. Those little dots, those clusters. Now, let's say that the atoms in that field around your root chakra are supposed to be red when they are vibrating the correct frequency. If something happens to you, an experience, a memory, a shock, a trauma, a heartbreak, anything, it can affect your energy. And most likely will. And depending on the frequency of that energy, it will affect the center connected to that emotion, and it will affect the atoms around it too. And if we don't deal with it, those atoms around the centers begin to clog up. They become blocked, dense, heavy, and unable to vibrate the correct frequency. that means that the color of those atoms won't be the correct shade anymore. And now the correct frequency from the chakra center can't reach those atoms in the way that it is supposed to. And when this happens, it doesn't matter how much you listen to the correct frequency to try to stabilize those atoms. Because the problem isn't that the frequency doesn't exist. The problem is that there is something in the energy that's in the way. Something that needs to be processed, purged, and moved. And when we deal with that, and when we clear the blockage, that chakra center can now reach those atoms again, and it can stabilize them. It can bring them back into the correct vibration and into the correct frequency again. In other words, the correct color again. Now, let's talk a bit about something that I call the standby frequency in your field, because this is also very important to know. The standby frequency of your field, this scale goes from 20 Hz to 1000 Hz, and it's connected to what's known the map of consciousness. This is where we can map out what frequency you are currently vibrating at, to understand what kind of emotions you're learning from right now and what you can do to move higher. So let's say that your standby frequency is at 125 Hz, which means the emotion of desire. Now, just because your standby frequency is at 125 Hz doesn't mean that you can't go above it. You absolutely can. You might peak into a high emotion for a day, or even for a moment, and then return back down to your standby frequency again. And the same thing is true in the opposite direction too. You can dip down below your standby frequency too, and then come back up again. That's what I mean by standby. It's the level your system naturally returns to when you're not actively shifting it or going through a particular situation. Now when you understand this scale, you can learn what frequencies help you elevate, how to level up, and how to start vibrating at a higher baseline over time. But the same thing is also true. You can choose to ignore what you're feeling. You can avoid looking at your emotion, and you can let them run unchecked, and you can start becoming them in a negative way. And if you're surrounding yourself with low vibrational information or low vibrational people and low vibrational situations, it will have an impact on your energy too. It will weigh on your field, and it can pull you lower down on the scale. This is where spiritual hygiene and spiritual health comes into play. It's about staying 2 steps ahead of the energy you're surrounding yourself with, and not allowing other people's energy to attach to your field for too long, so it can affect you for longer than it should. This is why core cutting and cleansing your surroundings are so important. Not because you should be fearful, but because you want to stay clear, so that nothing lingers on, or especially when you are in a relaxed state, when your system is more open. And I always make sure to have a space that feels sacred to you, a space you can return to come back to center and to find stillness again after you've been in a world full of noise, even if you couldn't hear it. And this is also one of the reasons we often end up in isolation when we go through a healing journey or a spiritual awakening, because part of it is purification. It's about clearing your energy from other people's influence, other people's emotions, and other people's projections. And once that's done, once your field is truly yours again, we can use that energy, not to survive, not to cope, but to elevate you. These are some of the first steps we learn in a healing journey. We learn the value of energy quite quickly, and we learn how to work with it, how to use it to what I call flip it. Because as heavy as an energy can feel, once you learn the skill of flipping it, it becomes just as uplifting as it was heavy. We also learn the value of high elevated energy. First of all, it's quite contagious. When people feel elevated frequency, without even realizing it, they are drawn to it because it feels light, it feels lovely, it feels peaceful. And for many people, that is something they haven't felt in a very long time. And this is one of the purposes of a healer. And honestly, it's where a lot of healers need to change their perspective of their role a bit. One of many purposes of a healer is to share high frequencies to the masses and with the people around them as well who are vibrating at lower frequencies. To share your energy so you elevate your surroundings into a much higher state. The impact one person can have is massive and it spreads quickly. I hear many healers complain, like I always end up with the same kind of people around me, or the same people are always drawn to me. And the truth is, it's because you are a healer. You're supposed to help others raise the bar. You're supposed to help them feel what high frequency feels like, so they want that, so they can begin to make the right choices to reach that state themselves. That's something you, as a healer, sign up for, to be a living reminder of higher frequency, to be the calm in the storm, the light in heavy, and the peace in noise. When you embody that, you don't just heal people, you awaken them. Now, let's talk quickly about high frequency versus spiritual bypassing, because this is something important. This is where a lot of people misunderstand frequency. And this is the difference between high frequency and spiritual bypassing. Because high frequency is not pretending that you're fine. High frequency is not ignoring your emotions. And high frequency is not forcing yourselves to be positive while the body is screaming that something is wrong. That is not elevation, that is avoidance. And avoidance doesn't raise your frequency, it just pushes it down into the body where it becomes heavier and eventually becomes back to anxiety, stress, fatigue, tension, and emotional loops. So if you have ever felt like, I'm doing all the right things, I'm meditating, I'm listening to frequencies, I'm cleansing, I'm journaling, why do I still feel heavy? This is often why. Because the work is not to escape your emotion, it's to take accountability for them. The work is to feel it, to understand it, to learn from it, and then to flip it. That's the difference. High frequency is not about being happy all the time. It's about being honest. It's about being able to hold yourself through what you're feeling without becoming it. That is real spiritual growth. So let's try something, because I want to give you something to practice here. Because this is where you can start to understand your own standby frequency without needing anyone else to tell you where you are on the scale. You can do this right now while listening, or you can do it later in your journal. But I want you to ask these questions and answer them honestly. What emotions do I keep returning to, even when nothing is happening? What is the main thing that triggers me right now? And what am I consuming daily, and how does it make me feel? And the meaning behind that is social media, music, shows, news, conversations, everything, even food. So the next question is, who do I feel lighter around, and who do I feel heavier around? Question number 5 is, what do I do when I feel heavy? Do I process it, or do I distract myself? Number 6 is, what does my body need right now, not my mind wants? Because the body never lies. And when you answer these questions, you begin to see your frequency patterns. You begin to see what pulls you down and what lifts you up, what keeps you avoiding, and what you're ready to flip. And this is how you start taking control of your energy. Now, I want to talk about something that a lot of energy sensitive people experience and they don't even realize it's happening. And that is absorbing other people's energy. Because if you are an empath, if you are intuitive, if you are sensitive and you can walk into a room and feel everything. And the danger is, if you don't have a good spiritual hygiene, you can start thinking those emotions are yours. So here are some signs that you might have absorbed someone else's energy. 1. Your mood changes suddenly, and you don't know why. Number 2 is you feel drained after being around certain people, even if nothing bad happened. 3. You start to overthink or your mind becomes noisy after being in certain environments. Number 4 is you feel pressure in your chest, your throat, or your stomach, and it wasn't there before. Number 5 is that you feel irritated, anxious, or heavy, and it doesn't match with what is happening in your life. 6. You feel like you need to isolate and you don't even understand why. 7. You feel like you're not yourself. And 8. You feel exhausted even though you haven't done anything physically demanding yet. Now, none of this means something is wrong with you. It means your field is open. When your field is open, you have to be intentional with what you allow into it. Now, I also want to bring something in here that makes this even more real and even more grounded. Because frequency isn't just spiritual. Frequency is physical too. Your nervous system is always scanning your environment every second without you even thinking about it. It's constantly asking one question. Am I safe or am I in danger? And depending on what your nervous system believes, your entire body changes. Your breath changes, your digestion changes, your heart rate changes, your thoughts, your sleep, your emotion changes. So when your nervous system is in stress state, your frequency will naturally drop because your body preparing for survival. And that's why some people can't think positive their way into a higher frequency, because their body is still stuck in a fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And the body doesn't respond to words, it responds to safety. So when we talk about healing, we're not just talking about energy in the spiritual sense. We are also talking about teaching your body that it is safe again, that it can relax again, that it doesn't have to be on guard all the time. And when your nervous system starts to regulate, your frequency naturally begins to rise because you stop vibrating in survival and you start vibrating in presence. And that's one of the biggest shifts you can ever make. And I want to end this episode by speaking directly to the healers, to the one who feel everything, to the one who carries more than they should, to the ones who always been the strong one, to the understanding one, and to the one who holds space. If you're listening to this, I want you to remember something. You're not here to save everyone. You're not here to drain yourself to prove that you care. And you're not here to carry other people's pain as your identity. You are here to be a tuning fork. You are here to remind people what higher frequency feels like. Sometimes you will do that through your words, sometimes through your presence, sometimes through your work, and sometimes simply by being calm in the room. But you also need to protect your field because your energy is not infinite and your nervous system is not a machine. So yes, you're here to help raise the collective, but you do that through boundaries, you do that through clarity. You do that through spiritual hygiene. And you do that by coming back to center again and again and again. Because the truth is, when you hold your frequency, you change the room. And when you change the room, you change the people in it. And when enough people do that, the world shifts. So don't underestimate the power of your energy. And don't ever forget that the light you carry is not just for you. It's a signal, it's a reminder, and it's an invitation. Today, we're not going to end the episode with a collective reading, but I want to thank you for listening to this episode of The Sixth Sense. My name is David Kárpáti, and all the information you heard is from me and my higher team, and I'm the producer of this podcast. You can book private readings and healing sessions with me You can also catch me when I'm doing live, doing healing and readings on TikTok. You can search for my name with David Kárpáti or The Sixth Sense with underscores instead of space. Until next time, stay curious, trust your light and your heart. Happy Valentine's Day.